Hello and Merry Christmas from all of us here at Voice of Uganda Radio and FADU, the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this Christmas program that we decided to bring out to all of our Uganda family. Kind of like a Christmas gift from us to you. We do appreciate your being a part of the show today and a lot of the things that we're going to have to share. Um, Let me take this time to say thank you so much to everyone who has gone out to FADU and become members. The membership grew a lot more than we thought it would this year, and we're very, very thankful for all of those people. A part of what I'm going to be talking about here this morning on the American Connection is how we're starting to grow forward in 2014. Because you have to understand, in 2013, Voice Uganda Radio and FADU established themselves. And we didn't know what the platform was going to be like. We didn't know how many people would get on board. We just really didn't know. But your attendance for the shows that come on the weekends, your attendance for the shows that come on during the weekdays, the fact that we have a lot of members out here in FADU shows us that it was a platform that was very much needed. Because sometimes there's so many different groups and so many things going on that you think, well, there's enough out there. Why should we bother? But you've shown us that there was a need, and we see that. We appreciate you, and we have enjoyed serving our fellow Ugandans, those of you in the diaspora, and those of you that are in Uganda or wherever you may be around the world, especially our American audience. It even grew this year, and we've gotten the Americans more and more on board, opening their eyes to a lot of things that are going on. And if for nothing else, is if in this latter part of 2013, we became a catalyst to project the Ugandans, the Americans, and the international community forward. Well, then we served our purpose and we served our goal. But now the goal for 2014 has to be greater and has to expand out even more. So thank you so much for all of your participation, those of you who have participated, and you will be seeing a lot more things unfold in 2014. We explained to you so many times here on Voice Uganda Radio that everything costs money and funds for us to continue to grow and continue to move in the direction that we need to. And we are effortlessly putting in the hours to make sure that these things happen. One of the things I understand and know to be true with the Ugandan people is we talked about this very early on in the American Connection, how so many of you as Ugandans that are living outside of the country in the diaspora are working 2 and 3 jobs just to be able to send money home to your families, to fund your families. I know a lot of you listening to my voice today have already sent money to Uganda for your families to have a very nice Christmas dinner and meal. So because of that, we understand that people don't always have the funds to give and to support and do whatever they need to. So we are really working hard, and we will work hard in 2014 to continue to reach out to you, but to also reach out in other avenues to figure out ways in which we can move everything forward. Because one of the things we understand and know that satellite radio is a big, big thing for us here at Voice Uganda Radio for the year 2014 and moving forward. We have to reach the massive amounts of people in Uganda. There's so much going on that they're not aware of and that they don't know about, and we have to start to reach those people as well. So as I say, thank you so much for being a part of Voice of Uganda Radio. I hope that you all having a very Merry Christmas. I'm sure that your New Year's will be just as great also. And from all of us here at Voice Uganda Radio and FADU, we wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Here on the American Connection, like I explained in the very beginning when I started the American Connection, after a couple of months, we realized that we had to switch the direction in which the American Connection was able to move forward, because we realized after my own research, after my own studying of things, after becoming a part of the active news and the different things that were unfolding there in Uganda, we realized that there was a bigger problem that we needed to make the American people aware of before we could ever have the agenda that we really wanted, the platform that we really wanted the American Connection to stand on. And so today, if you would just allow me, I just really want to share some of the things that have happened over the past year, some of the things that are happening now, and how Here at the American Connection, we want to move the Ugandan people forward in the year 2014. Because as you know, we're just a few days and just less than a week away, from that, and that needs to be our focus and where we're headed. For me on my platform here at the American Connection, I have worked tirelessly and put in numerous hours, which a lot of you as Ugandans will never know. The people inside the walls of Uganda will never know. Because any great thing that happens, it happens because you put the time into making it happen. A lot of people call and say, what are you doing? How are we moving forward? It's just another radio station talking about the problems in Uganda, but no one's moving forward and doing anything. Well, we are moving forward and we are doing things. And you have to understand that some of the things that we're doing in order to move the people of Uganda forward and to move the country forward, to make those of you who are in the diaspora comfortable with where we're at on this movement, we have to put in endless hours in research, in talking with people, whether it be in Washington, D.C., whether it be congressmen, whether it be senators, to figure out how we make this work for the Ugandan people. So I want our audience to know today that the number of hours that are put in to research, to develop, to meet, to figure out how we move everyone forward has been a lot over 2013. We enjoy what we do because we love the Ugandan people. Every time something comes out in the media, we get frustrated and angry just like you do, those of you who are our listeners. But we stand on a platform that we can move one step farther to make change come about. Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither was Voice of Uganda Radio, nor will a lot of the programs and things that we've started to implement in the background to move the Ugandan people forward. Everything takes time. And one of the things I want to reassure all our listeners today is the hours that have gone in, the emails, the letters, the correspondence back and forth with Washington, D.C., the correspondence back and forth with other people who can help us to move forward. It has been a great year of really starting to get people on board and get people to listen into what's happening there in Uganda. When they started up Voice of Uganda Radio and they said it was a voice of the voiceless, I really didn't understand that to the magnitude that I do today. And one of the things I can honestly say is over the course of 2013, I noticed more and more how the voice of the Ugandan people continued to be silenced over and over and over again. So there were so many things that were important to us. Connecting with my American audience on behalf of the Ugandan people was a big issue for me and still is. And we've reached out in many, many ways to draw them in, because this is what happens. If no one knows that you're suffering, if no one knows what's really happening, if no one knows the atrocities and the things that are going on there in Uganda, they don't really know that help is needed. One of the greatest things for Nelson Mandela, that even though when he was in prison there on Robben Island, the people still continue to fight for their freedoms. The people still continue to make their voices heard in whatever way they can. I talked about Mama Africa a few months back on Freedom at Hand, Millie Makeba, how when she left South Africa and came to America, her music became her platform for change and what was going on in South Africa. So we all have a platform. It's just what are we doing with that platform, not just to enhance ourselves, but to move the country forward as well. And that was one of the things that I admired about her very, very much. So the American audience is going to be very, very important and very vital to helping the Ugandan people move forward. I understand that here on Voice Uganda Radio, a lot of the people, and here at the American Connection, and a lot of people that I've been able to reach out to on a personal level are starting to understand that and starting to have a deep-rooted compassion for what is happening to the Ugandan people. And they're also starting to have a sense of anger that how can this be happening and we don't know? How can this be happening and our news media says nothing about it? How can this be happening? And we don't see anything in our papers that are printed about these things. The only way the American people have had their eyes open to the situation in Uganda and what's going on is because I've led them through emails and correspondence that I've had with them. I've led them to the websites of the media outlets that are printing this information that is vital for the American people to know. And I wish these things were in our local papers or on our news media or whatever. But this is where we're moving forward to in 2014. The awareness today is greater than it was in 2012 as far as the international community, as far as the American people, and the way in which Uganda is moving forward. However, in 2014, we need to see even more of a change than we see now as far as people getting on board and really, really reaching out to the Ugandan people. Because, we already know that the government's corrupt. We already know that there's a lot of things that are happening and going on there that seems to be out of our control. So let's not worry about what is out of our control. Let's worry about what is in our control and what we can do with that to move the people of Uganda forward. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the people in Uganda, because they're the ones that are being tear gassed. They're the ones that are being tortured. They're the ones that are being beaten and killed, and they're the ones that are suffering. Just like Selena Nabende, we talked about her on Freedom at Hand. She was poisoned there to keep her quiet and to keep her silent about what was going on there in Uganda. So we understand and we know from the American perspective of what's happening to the Ugandans, we understand that they have fear, and we know that the fear is real and the fear is there. I think every opportunity that the sitting president, his parliament, his army, and his police force, every opportunity they get to create that fear in the Ugandan people, they continue to do that. And they continue to move in that direction because fear cripples us and fear holds us where we're at. And we've talked about that a lot this year. But what we want to do here on the American Connection Forward is to start to work our way out of that fear factor and start to put ourselves in another direction of wholeness, giving the Ugandan people hope that there is greatness and there are better things coming and moving ahead for them. I think a lot of the Ugandan people have lost hope. They've lost hope in their lives of them being any better than they are. They've lost hope in their government. They've lost hope in those that they've elected and put in positions there to protect, to serve, and to help the Ugandan people. And I think what we want to do here at Voice of Uganda Radio is give hope back to the people, because we know that it's there and we know it's available for them. We just have to make them understand and believe that for themselves. Let me tell you, satellite radio is going to be a great thing. It is going to be a major piece in moving the Ugandan people forward, because the grassroots people in Uganda are the small people on the scale that don't have access to internet and don't have access to a lot of the avenues in which we're trying to come to the Ugandan people. This is why we're trying to create satellite radio. It's not to make Voice of Uganda Radio stand out or make us any bigger than we are, because Voice of Uganda Radio is growing in leaps and bounds on its own. But what it is there for is for the Ugandan people, because let me reiterate, at the end of the day, it's all about the people of Uganda. It's not about the government and anything outside of that. It is about the people and how we get them on board and how we move them forward. I talked a little bit about funds, and we're going to be working on that a lot more in 2014, is bringing funds, bringing things together in which we can try to get people on board that can help us to fund some of these programs so that we can go to more and more people there in Uganda than we reach right now. The American people, Washington, D.C., and the international community understands and knows the importance of this. Understands and knows that if we start reaching a mass amount of people, information is knowledge. One thing the sitting president does not want to happen in the walls of Uganda today. This is why he shut down media. The only things that get printed out of Uganda is the things that he wants to be printed outside of Uganda. A majority of you don't even know of some of the atrocities that are happening there, except those that are starting to become more and more connected with Voice of Uganda Radio. We had calls from some in the walls of Uganda this year They didn't come on the program and say this, but they called and they said, thank you so much for a lot of the things that you are sharing on Voice of Uganda Radio, because there is no radio station or TV station in Uganda that is allowed to speak on behalf of the Ugandan people and to the people in Uganda, in the walls of Uganda, the way Voice of Uganda Radio is. We speak the truth, we tell the truth, we tell and we elaborate on the stories that are printed. We elaborate on the things that people need to know, that people's attention needs to be brought to. So the president can do whatever he feels he needs to do to hold the people down. But if it's God's will will be done. And that's what we move forward on, in God's will and his purpose for the Ugandan people. This president has been in office for 27 years. He has caused so much heartache. He has caused so much pain, so much frustration to the Ugandan people. It breaks the hearts of the American people each and every day to go to and look at some of these websites and read some of the things that are out there. We know from the biggest thing that happened in 2013 was the public management bill. We know what that did to the Ugandan people and how much that crushed them. How can you say that you're going to have a free and a fair election and that the Ugandan people have rights and none of their rights and liberties are taken away from them, and that they truly do live in a democracy, when you're taking away fundamental rights each and every day that makes them who they are and gives them the platform to stand on? I say that to say this. You will never, if our president here, Barack Obama, ran his election in the way that this president is running his election, then anything harsh, anything bad, anything that comes against him in office that doesn't go his way, it's his own fault, because he never allowed the people to truly speak for what they wanted and who they wanted. And this is what this president is doing. And every time the Ugandan people try to stand up against that and to move forward, he does everything possible to hold them down. The public management bill is an outrage here in the United States of America. And I don't know, but those of you who are familiar with Robert F. Kennedy, he was the brother of John F. Kennedy, and he was a senator before he ran for president and was killed, assassinated. He has a fund that's set up, the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Committee. And they look at and they search out where human rights are being slaughtered, are being demised, are being corroded daily by their governments on behalf of the people, and how we stand up and how we stand against that and how we start to give these people a voice who don't have a voice. So 2 petitions here in the United States through Robert F. Kennedy Foundation on Human Rights was filed on behalf of the Ugandan people. And some of you may not know this, and this is why it's important for me today to give hope to not only those who are in the diaspora, but those who are in Uganda, to say, you are not alone. Little steps are being taken, but those little steps in 2014 are going to become big steps, because the audience we have now is going to only grow and get bigger and more massive as time goes on. Those bills that were put into law for the Ugandan people was the public management bill. It was signed off with a group of lawyers there in Uganda. Some of the members of parliament, only a few that were on board for that as well, getting the information here to the United States so this could be filed. And it was filed with monies and funds here at the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation, on human rights. Now, one of the things we know from, I have access to some of the other information that most people won't have access to, is that we know that the people who are responsible for getting this information outside of the country, to a degree that now legal papers have been drawn up, are being harassed in the walls of Uganda right now. And let me just say this, for anyone who in office in any way, any form in power in Uganda, that the American people, when we get on board and these things are filed and we have the names and we know these people, when we come looking for these people, there will be no excuses as to what has happened to these people, because you will not pull the wool over the American people's eyes. The American people will demand justice, and we will demand to know, are these people who filed these petitions on behalf of the Ugandan people here in the United States of America, are those people okay? Are those people still working, living, and thriving as they should be? or are they being tortured and under pressure by the Ugandan government? Because if they are in any way, more petitions will be filed and we will make a louder noise. Because the Ugandan people may not be able to speak out for their rights, but here on American soil, we will do everything possible to speak out on the rights of the Ugandan people. And so it's important for me to share that information with you, my listeners, because so many of you in the diaspora call all the time to say, what are we doing? How are we moving forward? How are we making a difference? It's important for you to know this information is there and this information is out there. If you go to his website, JFK, no, it's rfk.com. You can go to his website and you can pull up the human rights portion of this and you can see for yourself where these things have been filed. The other thing that was filed on behalf of the Ugandan people was the gay issue that's happening there in Uganda right now. The gay issue is important around the world right now because there's a lot of things going on. And even in the United States of America, as well as other countries, this is an issue that is very top on the scale for a lot of countries right now. And it sheds the light on Uganda in a way that they will not be able to hide from. Here in America, we understand how long it takes to write a bill and to get a bill through Congress and to pass it into law so that it can be signed off by the president and become a law. It is a sad thing for what is happening there in Uganda in the struggle for power. This president moves things through his members in parliament with such a speed that it doesn't even allow the chance for a true vote. It doesn't even allow the chance for debate. It doesn't even allow the chance for discussion. It's as if the president has made up his mind that this is wrong and this is how these people will be treated, and that's it. So members of parliament, as we know from all the programs here on Voice of Uganda Radio, are being paid off, are being given money, being given iPads, new cars, $10,000 US dollar bonuses to expedite and speed these votes through. So here in the United States of America, for Robert F. Kennedy's foundation to write an appeal on behalf of the gay community as well for the torture that's happening to the gay people is a great and a wonderful thing, because what it challenges, and please understand this, my Ugandan family, what it challenges is it challenges the very core of the people who've been put in place to protect the people and the citizens of Uganda. In no country, whether you're in the UK, anywhere throughout the European countries, anywhere in Australia, Canada, the United States, Japan, China, anywhere, no laws pass and become a law this quickly. This man is turning laws over as quick as 30 days. That is unheard of anywhere in the international community and in the free world. So when you look and you see these type of things being rushed through and you see these type of things happening, those of us in the international community starts to question these things and ask why and how is this possible? Under a government and under a president who says that his country is living in true democracy. There is no democracy in that, because in that you're not only taking away true democracy from the citizens of Uganda, but you're taking democracy away from the very people that were voted into those positions in parliament to protect and uphold the rights of the Ugandan people. So democracy, it has failed in the walls of Uganda tremendously. There is no true democracy, and these things are telling us this. And these are things that we're looking at very closely here in the American community. And these are things that we are aware of and that we know of here in the American community. So this president may continue to do the things that he's doing, pass laws, overlook the Ugandan people and their rights for freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom to gather, and all the other things that he's doing to the Ugandan people. But we are aware of it. We know that it is happening. The Ugandan people's voices may be silenced, but those of us who are in the diaspora, our voices are not silenced. And we need to continue to stand, and we need to stand firm in belief of what needs to move and what needs to go forth on the behalf of the Ugandan people. When you call Voice of Uganda Radio, and when we look at your post that you put out there on our Facebook, and you visit us, our website there at FADU, and visit the information center there where we continue to post things out there for your information, we are listening to you. You may think that what you have to say or what you may have to share is falling on deaf ears, but it isn't. And that's what we need you to continue to do this year, is to continue to engage us in our Facebook, continue to call in, talk about your concerns, talk about your frustrations, talk about what you want to see change, how you want us to move forward. Because a lot of what we've done here at Freedom at Hand and the American Connection on behalf of the Ugandan people has really been from simply listening to callers who have called in with their complaints, with their concerns of how we move forward and what we need to do to help the Ugandan people to progress forward. So I'm very, very thankful for that input, because I don't want you to ever think that it falls on deaf ear. We take notes, we have meetings, we compile information, and we are working on behalf of the Ugandan people there in Uganda. One of my callers called a show on Wednesday and was talking about, on Sunday at Freedom at Hand, and was talking about those in the diaspora and how they're not getting on and being a part of the growth the way they need to. I have a caller coming in, and I'm going to go ahead and expand on that when we're done, because talking about the diasporas and what this caller had to say is very, very important and something that we need to share. Hey, caller, are you there?
Hi, Brenda. How are you?
John, I'm very good. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Kalimages from the UK, as usual. How are you guys enjoying the festival season over there?
Well, Americans go a little above and beyond at Christmas time. So it is a very festive time here, and it's been very beautiful. And I think just enjoying family and friends is probably the biggest part of it. So how is Christmas for you there?
No, this time we had a lot of storms over here.
Good.
And thank God that the prediction is we are not going to have more. Anyway, I would like to thank you, Brenda, for the wonderful job that you are doing to us. Again, I would like to thank the members of FADU and the listeners as well, those who have been contributing in this year and those who have been behind our struggle, and hope the struggle will continue so that we can achieve what we are fighting for. Brenda, ever since I started to listen to you, you have been saying such wonderful words. And I would again thank you for doing such a very wonderful job. But Brenda, there is one where I'm not going to agree with you. All along, I've been together with you, but there is where I'm not going to agree with you. I think you are with me, yeah?
Yes, go ahead. I'm listening.
Brenda,
I love it whether you agree or disagree, because it always opens doors for growth and change.
With you. You know, English is my second language.
Yes.
Yeah. So in this world, we have got societies. And when I come as a Ugandan who is living in the UK, when I come to the UK, I have to abide by the UK rules.
Yes.
That's why there is a saying that says that when you go to Rome, you have to behave as Romans, isn't it?
Yes, true.
Uganda, we have been under dictatorial rule ever since Uganda achieved independence. When the British came to Uganda, they introduced laws. There have been laws, Brenda, that have been there, like the marriage and divorce law. The
Yes.
marriage and divorce law that we are following right now in Uganda, it's a copy and paste of the British law that the British introduced when they had that the Irish being the Catholic, they had to introduce their law in order to divert the Irish not to come into their society. So now that is the very same law that we are having in Uganda right now. But the people outside, the British, are not talking about that law because it serves them, it suits them. But now what we are talking about here is the anti-homosexual bill.
Yes.
When the way I was brought up is not the way you were brought up. I was brought up in a very cultural way. You can see Professor Mubiru Musoko over there. You can see Kebi there. You can see my sister, your co-presenter there. For us in Uganda, leave alone the generations before Museveni came, we were brought up culturally that when a woman grows up, she is entitled to get married. And when a woman grows up, she is not even allowed to commit adultery. Even a man as well, you understand?
Yes.
So now, as the world kept on going and going and going, intermarriages coming, because it was even, intermarriage was rare. It was done at the upper level where the kings, when the king maybe wanted to marry, he can go to the other kingdom and marry. But for us, it was rare. It was during Museveni's time. That's where we've had a lot of intermarriages, and the result that we have achieved is we have seen people, we have seen children who don't have respect, who don't have what. But I will stand on my two legs, and I will always open up my mouth to tell the people over there that gay and lesbian, to us as Ugandans, who it is, to us it looks as a sin because it does not sound normality to us. In some other cultures, that's why we respect other cultures. That's why when a white lady comes in Uganda dressed in a pair of jeans, she was going to be respected in the 60s. That's her behavior. But when I dress in a kanzu or a boarding, even the queen has to respect me.
Yes.
When the government of Uganda, I don't support the government of Museveni at all. I've been anti-Museveni at all. But if they come up and they see that according to our, because I don't know the kickback or don't know the reason behind passing this bill. But if the reason behind passing this bill is to protect the norms and the customs and the social aspects of the Ugandan people, let that bill be passed. Because of our cultures, because of our tradition. So you guys, I expect you for us to embark on our struggle, but not to bring in this. Because I've seen Richard Branson here in the UK telling the tourists, telling all the businesses to put a sanction against Uganda. But what I'm asking him is, where was he when they were passing the Public Order Management Bill?
Exactly.
Where was he when the Kaihura was killing our people every day on the streets?
Exactly.
Why the British don't come out and they talk about this?
Understood.
You understand? So I advise FADU, in order for us to achieve, because there are 80% of the Ugandans are against this. But if we are the very same people who are going to take away the injustice and we embark on supporting the homosexual bill, I think we are losing the fight. Let us support the injustices which is in Uganda. Don't even interfere into this.
Yeah,
because
and I want to say a couple of things.
Because I don't support the gay and lesbian people to be banned.
Yes.
Let us them be brought forward, and we teach them. Why are they doing this? Because
yeah, and let me just say this while you're on with me, because I want you to address this as well for me, okay? So just give me 1 second here, and I want you to address this, okay? I understand what you're saying, because there's a lot of atrocities and a lot of things that have happened in Uganda, and no one has come forward to say anything. But now on the gay and lesbian issues, the world is starting to make a stand and to say all of these things. And I explain that is because that's where the world is at this moment in time. I am with you also, John. If the law is being passed for a purpose intended for good, then that's okay. But this law is not being passed on intentions of anything good. Not when you see the torture, the stonings, and the burning of bodies that are starting to happen to Ugandan citizens who this should not be happening to. I also understand what you're saying about the laws there in Uganda, because one of the things that need to be addressed under the new regime is this. You guys have laws that were set up by the British that no one outside of Uganda, if you were not a Ugandan citizen, you could not adopt a Ugandan child. How many children do we know that are living on the streets, in poverty, unable to be educated, cannot eat, dying of sickness and illnesses, and you have hundreds and thousands of Americans, Britain, Canada, people everywhere that wants to adopt these children and bring these children out. So we already know that there are a lot of things in the government, in the laws, that don't make a lot of sense. And those things need to be readdressed. So comment on that for me, if you will, because I think you and I are on the same page with laws and how some of them are so outdated and they need to be revisited and changed. But also understand, too, what I'm saying is, if that law on gay and rights is being passed through for good intentions, great. But what we're seeing come out of this, out of Uganda, is not good.
Yeah, but Brenda, let's not forget one thing. The regime has a habit of turning a blind eye on its population. We have seen opponents, activists being tortured. We have seen tortured alive. We have seen the case of the late Bbrenda happening. There is
and
no
was
any
a terrible
international
thing.
community that came up.
Yeah.
Are you with me? So
yeah, and I was just saying
we know that the people of Uganda have what they call mob justice. We know that.
Yes.
And if they do it, it has been ever done even in front of me. I've ever done. We even me myself. We have seen someone stealing on the street, and then we beat the person up until the police come to rescue him. That is the habit that we grew up with. So we mustn't think that the gay and lesbian people, they are such special people. There are people who are dying. There is a lady who was raped. Right now, the lady does not have medication. Those are the kind of things that I was expecting the international community or we people to be talking about. So the gay people and lesbian people, they are people. They are supposed to be brought in justice, but what I'm against is to ban them, to torture them, to do what? But what I don't expect...
Let me do this, John. Hang on 1 second for me, because we got a couple of other callers. So let them be a part of the conversation too, because I'm sure they'll address some of the things you're saying, and then we're going to come back to you. I'm going to go ahead and say hello and good morning to Dorothy, who will come in, and then we will let the next caller come in. Hi, good morning, Dorothy. Are you there?
Good morning, Miss Brenda. I'm very fine, and Merry Christmas to you and everybody who is listening.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you too.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. I don't know if you wanted to introduce the other caller on, or I should go ahead.
Yeah, let me go ahead and introduce him in, because you're going to be remaining on the show with me for the rest of the duration here. So I think we have Musana that's in. Are you there?
Yes, Miss Brenda. Good morning, and good morning to our listeners. And I want to wish everybody a happy holiday and a happy New Year. What has made me make this call is really something that's going on in Uganda. Uganda has gone back to the old days or the primitive ways where people can be just killed without being taken to court. We do not condone and we should not look into somebody's behavior sexually. Okay, however much we dislike, some of us might dislike such behavior. There is no moral right for somebody to be stoned to death as it was done, as was seen on the video. That's so barbaric. We are a civilized nation. This man who was killed, I don't think he was doing the act in the public. This man who was stoned to death might be your brother, might be your uncle, might be your friend. Please, what Museveni has brought in our country is lawlessness. Homosexuality has been here and is going to be here. Doing what we are doing, killing these people because of their sexual orientation, is not going to eradicate such behavior. We should not, as human beings, have compassion, be compassionate in killing another human being. I sincerely do not believe that homosexual is a lifestyle that I identify myself with. But at the same time, that person has the right to be who he is or who she wants to be. These are the things that the government of Uganda has brought into people's mind, more justice. Because Museveni believes in violence, and the way this man was stoned to death when the policeman was policemen there with the AK-47. And the police never did anything. This man's hands were tied behind.
Mr. Mutana, can I just remind you of one thing?
Yes.
Go ahead, John.
I just want, I respect you a lot in all the previous whatever you have been making.
Yes.
In all the whatever you have been making. But we have to understand one thing, yeah? You know, a thief, a rapist, or a terrorist, we mustn't come up and we say a terrorist has got a right to be a terrorist.
But you cannot call.
We must. Let me finish my point. We must not say.
Hang on just a second.
Okay.
Hold on just a second. Let's let him go ahead and finish,
Okay.
Musana, and I'll bring you back on.
Musana, what we have to understand, that's what the introduction of my point to Ms. Brenda is one. That homosexuality, the originality of homosexuality, and what forces a person, because as I did a big research about homosexuality, gay and lesbian, at the end of the day, these things, if you see someone being a homosexual, it is not something that, because that I can do without it, or I might not do without it. It is something like a fashion. It is not something like I was born, because if you go to religion, God created Adam. After creating Adam, God created Hawa, who is Eve. They say Eve. After some time, then God didn't realize that after such a person, let me create another man, or let me create woman and woman. God created a woman and a man in order to have life, to have generations. But as a world has gone over, the world has gone over because God has empowered man to invent this technology that I'm in UK.
Yeah,
talking to you.
Hold on just a second. John, I think we understand what you're saying, and I understand where you're going at with that. Let me go ahead, though, and get the other opinions, because we do have Dorothy on the line, too. But I think we understand the direction you're going. Musana, go ahead and answer that, and let's be briefly so we can get Dorothy in on the conversation.
Yes, my call, the person who's on the line, I do respect, your view, but I want to understand that God created Museveni, who has killed millions of people. God created thieves. God created terrorists. And yes, God created homosexuals. Okay? You cannot say this homosexual, you cannot equate homosexuality to Museveni.
Homosexuality, all those people have got the right to live. They have the right to live, but don't mix them with Museveni.
John, please let him go ahead and finish.
You cannot equate homosexuality to terrorism. Homosexuality is a behavior that does not harm you in any way, in any way possible. But Museveni, if I had a choice to make, whom am I going to live with, Museveni or somebody who is homosexual? Believe me, the choice is very easy.
Okay, and I got
this. Yes, I'm going to go with this. We get this notion that homosexuality must be destroyed at any cost, but Museveni should be given a pass. Terrorism is okay. So my point is that we should not take laws in our hands and kill somebody because of sexual orientation.
Exactly. And thank you so much for coming in. I got James coming in now. Hey, James, go ahead and make your comment real quick, and then we're going to go to Miss Dorothy. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Greet everybody and Merry Christmas. My name is James Kagwa, calling from Germany.
Welcome aboard.
I just called to thank you very, very much, Brenda, for the work you are doing.
Thank you.
I can assure you, you have been a blessing. Now, I want to make some points about our brother Kalimages.
Okay.
Mr. Kalimages, let us not try to be prisoners of our thinking. And if we are actually fighting for freedom for everybody, we can let everybody to decide with him or with everything she wants to sleep with. And that is not our problem. The problem is not to kill this guy they killed the last time. If we have to kill someone, we must kill Mr. Museveni. That is the point. Because this Museveni is actually killing us day and night. That is the point. This man is killing us. If we have to kill someone, we have to kill him. This is the point we have to make very clear. Not this man sleeping with men or the woman sleeping with a woman. No, that is his or her choice. It has to be very clear, my friend. And this choice is hers and his. It is not yours. And actually, that is why we are here. To let people to have choice. And to respect their choices. Not because my father told me you don't sleep with a man, so I have to take it, that is God's truth. No, my friend. Let us not be ignorant. Because we don't know something, it means it is not there. That is not true. What for me, James Kagwa, what I want the freedom for everyone to have a choice. And his choice, I have to respect it. I don't have to say, because my father, my culture doesn't tell me that. Oh, that is wrong. Because my culture, that is nonsense. That is nonsense completely. We have to be free from our thinking.
Miss Bbrenda, excuse me.
Our thinking.
Mr. James.
Hold on just a second, James. Did you want to say something there, John, real quick? Because I do need to go to
Miss
Dorothy.
Bbrenda, one thing I think
I can wait.
Mr. James Kagwa.
I stop here. I can listen to him.
Okay, thank you, James. Go ahead.
Bbrenda, yeah?
John, I'm only giving you just a couple of minutes, and I really need to go to Dorothy because she has been patient through two phone calls.
Yeah, there is one thing I just want to tell the contributors and those who have responded. When people who are in government or who are rulers, if they will respect or if they will carry over every wish of the people, Brenda, every person will come up and say, I want to be a thief, I want to go to the supermarket and I steal. I want to go and I steal someone's cattle. I want to go this to this and to this. That's why they introduced laws in order to abide by such kind of things. Miss Brenda, I want you to take you over to Margaret Thatcher before. You know fraud. Fraud was not a case here in the UK. Someone forging someone's signature to steal money in the bank. Margaret Thatcher asked the people in the bank that how comes that someone can forge someone's signature to steal money in the bank. It became a habit. That's why the British sit down and they said, no, forgery has to be a crime. So, Miss Brenda, when Mr. Kagwa comes up and tells me that I will have to respect everybody's wish, in the world, it's not like that. It's not like that. I just want to come up and tell you that because homosexuality, gay and lesbian, it is becoming ruling over the world. The rich people are wanting to destroy Africa with this disease. Now they want to preach us with homosexuality. We will not take this. And I promise you that with the will of God, we will go over. Leave alone Museveni is a coward, Museveni is whatever, you understand. But what I want to tell you is I don't say that everybody that he has got a right, he can do. If you say that everybody has got a right, somebody will tell you me I want to steal someone. Someone will tell you me I want to slap Mrs. Brenda. I'm sorry to say this. So let us analyze laws. Laws are practiced according to the society. I have to stop here, Miss Brenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. James, give me 1 second, and I'm going to come back to you because I want to ask you a question too. Dorothy, let's just go to this point. The Bible says, he who is without sin cast the first stone. So when we're talking about what we're talking about here now, Dorothy, I mean, how does that play into the role of all of this?
Miss Brenda?
Yes.
First of all, I'll come to the question. I'm going to be very, very brief for the sake of time. Okay? Mr. Kalimagezi, when you say there is an agenda, yes. When you say that the problem that are facing Uganda today, for me, even I'm in this belief that this is the topic has to be discussed. This is the bill that has to be discussed and rushed in such a way. When Uganda, we have more serious problems than this. Okay?
Yes.
So, the gays and lesbians, they have agenda and they are very aggressive. But these things have been here before. Centuries and centuries. As you said, you have done research. If you have searched about Rome and everything else, these things have been around for a very, very long time. Now that people are coming out, as the other gentleman, Mr. Kagwa said that if you don't know something, it doesn't mean it is not there. You'll be surprised even in your country. These things have been there, but they're like a taboo. They've never been spoken of. Now, another thing is that there is something attached to this. The truth is, we can also have to think about biology, okay? There is some people who are born biologically when they have a problem, and there is some imbalances.
Yes.
There are two other people who are like this. But as you know, as we humans, because there are people who want to, we are people, we have weaknesses. There are people who want to test everything. Tell me, you want to eat matoke, you want to eat mchele. When husbands cheat on their wives and they truly love them and you ask them what happened. But you know, I have bananas here, but I wanted to test the rice. Truly, there are people biologically in that category. And it is disturbing, but they also God created them. But there are people who have taken advantage of this. Okay? We know that when a man marries a man, a woman marries a woman, how could the world go on? We understand those things. But it's not ours to judge. We leave this to God. But as a society, as governments, as countries, I agree. Our job is not even the church will tell you that our job is not to judge. There should be even laws to protect these people.
Yes.
But even though in some society they have taken over, they want to flip things, okay? That is because they are being killed with no defense at all. So if this man's hands were tied and there are policemen there with the AK-47, now, do you think Museveni is passing this bill in good intentions? Now let me tell you about Mr. Museveni and this gay lesbian bill, okay? And let me tell you why he had to rush to pass it. With Mr. Museveni's calculation, with all the calculations, and our people will die and be stoned. Because this is, you can call it a behavior, you can call it what, but I'm not even ready to name it anything. It can be anything. Okay? Mr. Museveni is looking to the donor countries where they are cutting each and everything. How can I get the attention of these donor countries? What can I do in parliament? How can I put them on pressure? If you think that he did bring this bill and you think Museveni did this and he did the right thing, he has even other intentions behind this. Okay? We will agree that if there are gays and lesbians in Uganda, they are to be protected. God will judge, but Mr. Museveni's intention of passing and rushing this is not because he's doing the right thing to defend those. He's looking something out of it. How can I put America on a grip? I have to pass this law and do ABCD. Then some lobby groups concerned with this, they will come up and lobby and do that and do that. And Mr. Museveni will walk away with the cash. That is the whole thing behind it. So we have to understand. We have to protect everybody. This is the best thing. We don't need rocket scientists to explain this. Okay? We have had people marrying buildings. What is that? So, Miss Bbrenda, we should love and respect everybody.
Yes.
And we should know the cunning people, their ways. We need to learn to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hold on, and that's been very good because you made several points there. I'm going to go to James, but I want you to hold on, Dorothy. A couple of the good points that you made there, Dorothy, is that these people deserve protection. One of the things we have to remember in this atrocity that happened is that the police were there to protect. However, they did not protect. They allowed this individual to be stoned there without their protection. Any law that will allow that to happen is never a good law. And we also know that this president, anything he can do to make money off of the Ugandan people, he's going to do this. So you're right by saying he may have some other agenda through lobbying to make money. But, the one thing we have to understand is the American people are waking up to his ways, and we understand and we know the cruelty in which he portrays around in. And I think a lot of things that he thinks are going to become favorable to him, I think they're going to backfire on him. What do you have to say about that, James? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had some points to say. I think it is our right, if we can use this bill, make the people of America to be aware of what is going on in Uganda. Maybe it is our blessing.
Exactly.
That is why I agree with you. We can use it.
Yes.
We can use it, and it is our right. And to my brother Karimagezi, he said, "Yeah, we can't leave someone to have a choice to steal my money and what have you." No, my friend, we are not in a kindergarten. When we talk about choice, we mean if someone takes a choice, but he doesn't interfere with my freedom
Exactly.
And these people, they don't interfere with our freedom. They don't, my brother. They don't. But Museveni does. Those are the 2 points which I wanted to make. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best of next year.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much, James. Thank you so much for calling in and so much for being a part of the conversation. James, our caller there, had a lot of great points to make, a lot of great things to share. Dorothy, go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on what he was sharing there, because I noticed you were agreeing with the freedom part and how this bill may be used in the advantage more than a disadvantage. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Yes, Miss Brenda, that is exactly the point. The man who manipulates everything, and he thinks, he's a cunning, he's a calculator. He doesn't do something. We need to understand him. He doesn't do anything unless he's going to benefit out of this. He doesn't do that. That's the point in case is true. Somebody may bring an argument because we have a lot of challenges. If we are talking about Uganda and our culture, we respect and love so much. Yes, we do. But even here in the United States, even in Europe and everywhere, some of these things are challenged. Yeah? Some of these organizations, they have grown so much, but they are demanding their rights, that we see that things like marriage are being redefined. Those are very, very, very strong and very, very, challenging points. But at the end of the day, Miss Brenda, we know, as Mr. Kagwa said, we are not in kindergarten here, okay? You know that when a man and a woman get married, you know what happens. You know that is a blessing. It was created to be that way. But if for any reason somebody intends and believes that he's going to live the other way, that is their choice, okay? So, for the case of Uganda, there haven't been no gay lesbian group there to interfere with the Ugandan people, to beat, to kill, to tear gas. That's why I'm saying that. Why is he, since that man was killed when there was the police over there, people who had guns, his hands were tied. Miss Brenda, what is behind that scene? That is his way, this is his style, okay? Kill them, tear gas them, leave them in the streets for people to know. Okay?
Because we've seen it too many times before. Yeah.
Yes. Okay? Leave him, let him be stoned to death. The international community, he knows how they will react. Yeah?
Yes.
So we know what to do. For me, I'm sure at the end of the day, when we get rid of this cunning man, at the end of the day, the Ugandan people gonna sit and discuss things like so many other laws that Mr. Kalimagezi you cited. Okay? So, we need to think. Right now, Uganda is in a terrible state.
Yes.
It's because of very few people who call themselves the leaders. But they are dictators, they are killing us. So, the coming of this bill, Mr. Kalimagezi, do not be deceived in any way. Do not. These are people who came to make business. These are mafias. These are killers. Museveni did not wake up. He told you when he thinks about Uganda is when he's sleeping. Yeah? When he's sleeping, that's when he thinks about Uganda. So now, you think he's going to wake up? The man who has killed our education system, the man who has killed the infrastructure, the man who has divided all our cultural readers, the man who has introduced like many different kabakas and the charazingas and all of that. And you think he's bringing this bill to protect what?
Exactly.
The culture in Uganda? He's killing our cultural institutions to build his own Tutsi empire.
Exactly. I know. We have another call coming in, Dorothy, so let's go ahead and take this call, and then we'll bring James back in on part of the conversation, too. Hi, caller. Are you there?
Hi, Miss Brenda. This is Mubiru Msoke.
How are you this morning?
I'm fine, and Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy New Year. Before I forget that important message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, the discussion has been very interesting, and I thought maybe I could say a few words about it. Well, I listened to Mr. Kalimagezi, and he gave an example of somebody, say, going out to steal and say that is his wish to do that. Well, that's Mr. Kagwa answered that question. I don't have much to add. The theft interferes with other people's property, whereas homosexuality is limited to those who are interested in it, and they are not forced. But if a homosexual is raped, that is a violation of his right. But if he accepts to do it willingly with another person, then there is no question of saying that they are violating somebody's right. And the other aspect, which is not fully understood about this, is the concept of fundamental right. What is a fundamental right? It's in the Constitution of Uganda, Article 20 says that human rights are inherent. They are part of being a human being. They are not granted by the state. So people are born with their rights. In other words, fundamental rights are not what the government gives you. It's what you're entitled to by virtue of being a human being. And in this debate, homosexuality debate, I've had people posing to me a question which is very based on ignorance, but very easy to answer. For example, they pose a question and say, how come animals don't, are not homosexuals? They don't, they don't engage in homosexual activities, and why should then human beings be engaged in such a behavior? What they don't understand is the distinction between the animals and the people. For animals, in order to have to be in a condition to have a sexual relations, one animal has to consent. In other words, for example, the female, the animals don't rape. The reason is that before a female animal gets engaged in a sexual relationship with a male animal, it passes out a scent. And it is the male also never gets ready or prepared to have that relations until it smells that scent. In other words, it is consensual in the sense that it is triggered by biological factors. So that's why you never see animals, committing rape or chasing it. So people have to understand that people are different. They don't depend on biological signals anymore. They depend on other factors. But I wanted that to be clear because some people also try to bring in the analogy that because other animals do not engage in homosexual activities, people should not. And I think that is the distinction. It's a biological distinction. The animals don't get engaged into those activities until they are prepared, and they prepare themselves by through what they call animal communication, through those scents between each other. And by the way, these scents are exclusively within the same species. For example, a dog will never trigger the scent of it will never trigger a goat, or a goat is a sheep. It has to be within the same species. So it is very, very complicated, but very, very effective at the same time. And to go back to the real topic of the homosexuality between the people, as I said, first of all, we don't have a full understanding of that behavior, but science seems to be advancing in that respect, that some people with a homosexual urge do have some differences in their structure of the brain and so on. And by the way, now we have even bishops who are homosexuals and who are married. Bishop Robinson here in New Hampshire, he's married. He was married to a woman, and then they divorced. They even had children, and he decided that, well, because he was a homosexual, he was going to have to marry another man, although it caused the controversy within the church, he was allowed, and he's a married bishop within the Methodist Church. So the fact that these conditions exist even in the religious people, it says something. I think you are the one who asked at the beginning, let one who has never sinned throw the first stone.
Yes.
And that's the big test in this particular case. So I'm raising these issues because they are very much more complex than we think. What do you do? I mean, these are people who are serving God. They are committed to being priests, and yet they are homosexuals. So what does that tell you about human beings? I think it tells you a lot. So
and you do a lot of things. You do a lot of things for us when it comes to the law and how the law pertains to things around us. Because one of the things John said when he called in earlier is that we have all sorts of laws in Uganda that need to be revisited because they don't work for the Ugandan people anymore. So, in your opinion, is this law there to harm the people of Uganda or to help the people of Uganda?
The homosexual law?
Yes.
Oh, no, it shouldn't be enacted in the first place because, as I said, I think it violates the Constitution, which Article 20, which says that people have inherent human rights which are not granted by the state. In this particular case, the homosexual law is taking away a right of the homosexuals to be free and do whatever they want to do.
Exactly, so, kind of like the same way the public management bill affected the Ugandan people, the normal citizens.
Same thing,
Yes.
The analogy, it's taking away right of the people, and fundamentally it conflicts with the Constitution, and if the judges on the bench enlightened enough, they probably will strike it down. In the first place, homosexuality is prohibited by the Penal Code of Uganda. So the enactment of this homosexual bill was an extra to increase the punishment to life in a prison. It didn't do any other thing. Homosexuality is already prohibited under the Penal Code. But the Penal Code is inherited from the colonial laws, some of which are being struck down anyway. So that's a separate issue altogether. But the current situation, I think somebody will have to bring up this law within to challenge the constitutionality of the law and see what the courts decide.
Yeah.
It was not necessary to enact it, as I think Dorothy was saying, that Museveni is using it for his politics.
For his own purposes, yeah. We have another call coming through. Do you want to hang on, or did you want to say goodbye and
I'll say goodbye. If I need, I feel there is a need for me to come back, then I'll call back.
Please do. You're always welcome here on American Connection. Thank you so much for your call in this morning.
You're welcome.
All right. We have another call. Caller, are you there? Go ahead.
Hi, Brenda. It's Kalimaga's back again, yeah?
Ah, hey, how are you?
I'm fine.
We
I'm
had
fine.
quite a
I
conversation
think
since you've been
I'm
out.
making
So.
I'm making the house to be burning now, right now. Brenda, what the professor has spoken about is really fantastic. It brings up the light in as far as this bill is concerned. You understand? And Miss Brenda, what I wanted the people to understand is that we must not mix the two, because here we are mixing the two. We are mixing the behavior of Museveni and the bill. So we have to understand the habit of homosexuality or versus the culture of the people of Uganda. Because Miss Brenda, as I've been telling you, I've been in the West for the last something like 17 or 18 years. I came in the West as a young boy, and I grew up in the West. But what I've seen is the West have got their own laws, have got their own behaviors, which is not even back home. Because, Miss Brenda, as I want to tell you, even though you can bear with me, for us, my mom, or Dorothy's mom, I respect her mom, or the professor's mom, you can hardly see the leg, her leg, you understand. The dressing code was different, but when you come to the West, you can see the kind of dressing, the way they wear, because what I want people to understand that people have got cultures, people have got norms, people have got traditions. So we must not mix the two. So if you have seen what the West are doing, what suits them, it's not the same thing that can suit my people. Because homosexuality in Uganda, first and foremost, Miss Brenda, I've been just few months in Uganda, yeah? But I have witnessed homosexuality. The homosexuality in Uganda, they are the people who have got money. And these people, being Ugandans, if they don't have money, if they are unemployment, if they are redundant, they are going to follow into this. They will say, okay, if I become a homo, I'm going to have money. I'm going to have bread to bring on the table. But
John, let me just interrupt you 1 second here. Do you realize that was a fight that we had in the United States of America also, that a lot of people didn't want gays or lesbian teaching their children, coaching their children, or any other things because they thought that they would influence them. And later on, through study and research, we found out that it would not influence your children. Either your children were going to be gay or not.
Yes, Miss Brenda, I can bear with you. But how did you find out? Miss Brenda, I want you to give you this thing, and you can be surprised to know this. Mm-hmm. Do you know homosexuality started in the Middle East? Do you know that?
Okay.
And these people, they have been practicing this without anybody's knowledge. Because I cannot stand on the air here and I explain to you this. Because Mr. Kebi can bear with me that an Arab woman, when the marriage is happening, I can't bear with you. I cannot stand on the air and explain this. So I want to tell the listeners that we must not be confused. Homosexuality in Uganda is being spread by, there is a reason behind this. There is a reason behind this. And you see that. And what we have to ask ourselves, Miss Brenda, because I don't know you, you don't know me, but I know you as a parent, I know you as a responsible person. We have to ask ourselves, homosexuality, what is it, what does it involve? That is the question, the big question we have to ask ourselves. And if we ask ourselves, after asking ourselves, what does it involve? If these people really meet each other, what does it involve? And what is involved? Is it normal? This is
the professor and Dorothy also just explained that it's a chemical imbalance in the brain that we already understand and know that from research.
Ms. Brenda, if we go back, even the Bible tells you that. The Bible says that I have given you all the fruit-bearing trees. It says all, but now science has come over and tells us that there are some vegetables that are poisonous. But the Bible has stated that I have given you. It is God who is saying this. So we have to understand that things do change according to the environment. Things do change according to the culture.
I don't know if I totally agree with that. Dorothy, come in on that with me if you would. Do you totally agree with that our environment changes things to the degree John's saying here?
As I mentioned before, my brother Kalimagis.
Yes, madam.
Have you heard of people called the hermaphrodite? Like they have the baby is born. She has some female parts and male parts. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
Okay, and we know that there's a few animals, very few, that were also created that way. Okay? We know that science, some people think that science and religion collide each other, as some people think that reasoning and religion collide, but those things work, together. Okay?
Yeah.
It just depends how you want to interpret it for either good reasons or selfish reasons. Okay? In the beginning, even before you talk about Middle East, I want you to do research on Rome. Even in Africa. But it is something that is taboo, they never been talked about. These things have been happening for a very long time. The one thing I'm going to agree with you that there are some very, very big, aggressive organizations with these movements who have money, who fund these things. Can I change our societies in a way? They can. As you can see, we have challenges, like marriage being redefined. Do I stand for that? Really not. But what I'm saying, that these people, as God created Adam and Eve, somehow a man and a woman married somewhere, they married to have a family, and somehow they came up with a child with such different, created in a different way, okay? Created in a different way. Sometimes science exaggerates, but these things are true. They are treated people like this. And you look at their nature and what they do and how they do. Even struggle to be a man, but they can't. Do you understand? But somewhere in the middle, we have some people who can take advantage of everything. Those are also there. But please, Mr. Kalimagis, do not be overtaken by that.
No,
these people are also created by God, and the culture of Uganda you are talking about, somehow there might be a few of these.
Sister Dorothy,
it is the best to educate ourselves about this, and we know how to handle it, but at the end of the day, everybody has to be respected, everybody has a right. A God-given right.
Sister Dorothy,
do you understand?
Yeah,
and even in our culture, there are things that are important, people. We have to respect and protect them.
I don't deny what you are saying. I don't deny
I know,
what
and
you are saying.
I understand both of you here. James has been holding on for a while too. Let me go ahead and go to him, and then John, I will come back to you next, I promise. James, go ahead and make your comment.
Yeah, I want just to make to ask my brother John, if you have a son,
yeah,
and he comes to you and he tells you he wants to marry a man, are you going to kill him?
No.
Yeah, that is what we are talking about.
Okay.
That is what we are talking about.
Because John would know, from James, from what you're saying to John would know that he raised this child to be a man. He raised this child with the moral and the principles of that. And if that child chose something differently, your love for that child should not change in any way, nor should you feel the need to have him stoned or killed because he feels that way. We got one more call coming in. Let me go ahead and take this, and then I'll go right to you, John. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead and make your comment.
Yes, Miss Brenda, I just want to make a short comment, and I would like to let our listeners know. I'm trying to correct the previous caller who talked about homosexuality and Middle East. I don't think it's fair for us to air, our callers to specifically name out specific areas of the world where this act might have come from or it might have started, because you have no idea where the act started from, but all we know that the issue is on the table, regardless where it came from, it must be confronted with. We are now talking about the issue of homosexuality and freedom and the freedom. We should not put more emphasis on where the act came from. And I hope, Ms. Brenda, you correct that on the air. And I encourage our callers, when you call, please not mention specific areas or countries where you think the act might have started from. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Colin. We're going to go back to John because John made that comment. But before I go back to John, I do want to say this. Dorothy made it plain and clear that if you went back through history, in the history of time, even back to the Roman area, you know this has existed for decades. And so I do appreciate your calling us out on that. We're not looking at any specific area where anything started. We just know that it is a topic that has been the conversation across the board in many countries and many nations. John, go ahead and finish up with your comment there, and then we'll go back to Dorothy.
Miss Brenda, I want our listeners to understand one thing. We must not
because address what James said, because you understood what he said about if you had the son.
What he says, I wanted to tell him that we have got schools, we have got prisons, we have got hospitals for such kind of things. If my
what kind of things?
Yeah, for teaching people. If my son comes up and tells me that I want to marry a man, I can look for a rehab. I can call a counselor. I might ask myself maybe that there is something wrong. I might go and go around. Miss Brenda, I'm telling you this. I'm a victim of this thing, homosexuality. It has come in my family. And I know why it came. All these people are talking all this, Miss Brenda. They don't know the disadvantages of this issue. I have been to Uganda and I have seen gay and lesbians. They have money. They're driving nice cars. They are wearing clothes, nice clothing. So any child who has finished Makerere University, who is at Makerere University, he thinks or she thinks that if I become a gay or a lesbian and then I gain this money, I will be like this. I will have a good smartphone. Our culture is being spoiled about this. So, Miss Brenda, what I'm talking about is our struggle is still young. We must not mix into. Museveni has passed he passed the Public and Order Management Bill. Did we keep a long time asking about this?
Actually, here on Voice of Uganda Radio, we did.
Yes, we did, but we did not. The Public and Management Order Bill, even it can affect when your dad has died, when my dad has died, because it avoids 3 people to meet. Because I remember when the MP was there, I asked him, if I call you for my wedding, will you come? Because it prohibits you this. So the homosexuality, the Western world has come over because it's a pity. Miss Brenda, as I told you that just recently the government of Angola came up and said there is no Islam in Angola. They destroyed the mosques. It's a pity that the Western world did not come over. But when the Western world thinks that benefits them, thinks that wants to destroy our culture, because you cannot tell me that someone has a right. What right? Rights have to be valued. Because if you come over and you tell me that I have a right, I will have a right to come and steal your dogs. I will have a right to come and steal your money. I will have a right to come and slap you.
But John, please try to respect our understanding. You asked us that question, and we answered that question very clear.
Yes.
Yeah, very clear. Don't just come here to have right. Please make a point.
The point I'm making is rights are valued. You have to value the rights. Not every right that you will talk about will be respected.
Exactly. Hold on. I'm going to bring this other caller on because what you have to understand, John, too, is the professor just explained that too. That both of these bills, whether it was a gay bill or whether it was the public management bill, they both took away rights and liberties and justice of the Ugandan people. Caller, go ahead and come in on this, if you will, again. Come on in.
Yes, this is Mobile Msoke again. I just wanted to comment on 2 points raised by Kalimagezi. The one is the argument that the Bible says. Well, Mr. Kalimagezi has to remember that the community where he lives, some people believe in the Quran, others are Buddhists, others are Hindus. So the Bible is the authority for Christians, but not for the other groups. Some are atheists, as a matter of fact, and you are not going to say that they don't have any rights. So they have rights. So when you quote as an authority the Bible, somebody else can quote another scripture or another authority. So that you have to be careful about that one. Second, the idea of social norms, especially as reflected in culture. We've talked about these norms. Social change is about transforming these very social norms. For example, take the Victorian era. I'm talking about England where you live. Could you imagine Queen Victoria wearing pants and coming out and addressing people in the palace wearing pants? It is inconceivable. And yet, today that can be done. Even any other woman other than Queen Victoria could not do that because it was not appropriate. It would violate certain norms of dressing and the proper way to dress. But today, any woman can wear pants, and they are not offensive. But they used to be offensive, and in fact, people used to say, "You can't do that here." But so society changes, and as society changes, so do the norms, and so does culture. So we have also to be careful and be very important, very careful about that. Finally, when we live in a democratic society, there are certain fundamental laws like a constitution, and it is clear that any law or even a social norm or culture that it contravenes the fundamental principles of the constitution is null and void to the extent of the inconsistency. Take this cultural norm of FGM. I hope you understand what I mean by FGM without saying it out in full. The so-called female genital mutilation. That's a cultural norm. But by the way, Museveni, the same one, they passed a law 2 years ago prohibiting FGM because it is inconsistent with the Constitution, and it is practiced on females who are not adults. In other words, they don't have the right to give consent. So it is prohibited, but it's a cultural norm. I'm trying to point out that the situation is much more complex than you seem to believe it is, because when you talk about cultural norm, remember that cultural norms or any other norms do change with the social change. And second, that we have a fundamental law of the Constitution. Anything inconsistent, whether it is a cultural norm, whether it is another law, if the court decides that it violates the Constitution, then that gives way to the Constitution, prevails. So I just wanted to point out these people. I don't know whether they help advance our argument, our discussion, the conversation as it is.
No, well, thank you very much, because what you're sharing is very true. And James even hit on that himself when he said that, the norms, things change. We're not, the point of what happened maybe 100 years ago in Uganda, 50 years ago in Uganda, and today in Uganda is just what you're saying. Things change, the norm change. Yeah. So let me go ahead. Go ahead, James.
Brenda, I talked about this point in the Uganda program. Mm-hmm. What my mother told me. My mother told me, if we want to liberate our people, we have to liberate ourselves.
Yes.
What does that mean? It means, first of all, it means you have to know that life changes. It is not constant. It changes.
Yes.
And you have to know that what you know today is not the truth.
Yes.
So that is a fact. My brother thinks what he knows today, that is the truth. Nothing. It is not. That is what my mother told me. We have to liberate ourselves. We have to look for the truth. We have to look for that life. And life changes. If it doesn't change, it is dead. Yes. Life changes, my friend. We have to change our thinking. Our thinking has brought us to this end. That is why my mother telling us, son and daughter, please change yourselves.
Yes.
Liberate yourself from this stupid thinking. That is the point what I want to add on. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Well, the thing too, like James is saying, if in the United States of America, if we always thought of ourselves as being slaves and never being liberated into where we're at today, where would that have even left our culture at? We're going to be rounding out here today because we're almost coming to an end. So, John, I'm going to give Dorothy, James, and the professor just about 3 minutes just to wrap it up here, and then I'll close out the program. So please keep it to 3 minutes so that everybody else will have a chance to talk. So, John, I'm going to go ahead and start with you. John, are you there?
No, it's gone.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and go to, and I hope we haven't offended him in any way. I think we did everything possible to give John the time he needed to listen to what he had to say, his views on all the issues, but yet at the same time, like James was saying, I mean, times have changed and we have to look at it from all the other perspectives as well. Dorothy, go ahead and start. I'll give you 3 minutes here, and then I'll go to our other two guests and I'll close it out today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bbrenda. Thank you very much, Mr. Kagwa. Thank you very much, all the callers. Mr. Musana, I will start with you. I will apologize that in the era of mentioning where these things, we mentioned a lot, regions, even in the region, and all in any effort to bring some light on what is going on. Because we all do care very much. But also, where life is a mystery, where we cannot explain everything, okay? Sometimes we have to find a balance. For Mr. Kalimagezi, I would like to thank him very much. That in a way, there have been very strong movements, okay? To some extent, these things, some of them are funded, they are promoted, people have a certain agenda. We cannot deny this. Most especially in the West, and we cannot deny this. But what really, for me, I will stand strong on the point of freedom, justice for all, and rights. Okay? As I said, everything can be manipulated, even science can be. But as we said, even our culture. Professor Mbili, thank you so much for coming in, because when I said even our own culture can inflict things on us, that's what exactly I meant. We love our culture to death. But really, that thing that the professor is talking about that I don't even want to mention again, girls are affected. Some of them will never have to see a baby. But that is our culture, Mr. Kalimadi. We have to balance these things. Some of them are beyond our control. We cannot say balance, but we have to understand each side and try to be somewhere where what we are fighting about here at the Voice of Uganda Radio and FAD, what it means, freedom, justice, protection for all. That's what we are talking about, Ms. Brenda. If these people are there, they have to be protected. If they come up so strong and want to change everything and turn things over, all what we need is laws that protect them in society. They have a right. As James said, is these gays and lesbians in Uganda killing people now? No, they are not. So, with all that, I think this has been a very good lesson for us. We are fighting for justice and freedom. So we should stand for that. That idea or the gays and lesbians, that mystery is beyond us. The truth is, some people are that way, and they struggle and they are entrapped in their own life. Don't think that they don't even suffer. They suffer a lot. The families suffer. The parents do suffer. But at the end of the day, they need to be protected, not to be stoned when the government is there. When the government, they are passing these bills for their own also different agenda. Everything can be manipulated. Ms. Brenda, thank you so much. And Merry Christmas to you all whenever you are listening to Voice of Uganda Radio and FAD.
Thank you so much, Dorothy, who always speaks on compassion when it comes to the Ugandan people. James, I'm going to go ahead and give you your 3 minutes here, and then we'll go to the professor for the end. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I have to thank you, all of you. Mrs. Brenda, Doris, John, and I want to thank John to be actually very tough. He has supported his point, but I hope he has learned something. So my point today, I want to tell all people who are listening to Voice of Uganda to focus on the end result. We have to set our goals, and we have to focus on them. We have been losing our focus, but we have to focus on our goals. That is how we are going to get them. That is how we are going to reach our goals. When we focus on the end results. Let us not focus on problem, because focusing on a problem, it is going to take away our energy.
Yes.
So we have to focus on the end results. That is something which is going to give us motivation, which is going to give us power. We see it. We will be seeing it. When we sleep, we see it. That is going to push us. That is what we have to focus there. Let us leave the problem, because it is taking away our energy. We need the end, our goals. So, my last word, I thank you very much. Brenda, you have been a blessing for me. I listened to you. I have been listening to you. You didn't know, but I've been listening to you. Today, I said, let me call. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you so much, James, for being a part of the conversation today and for calling in. I hope you'll be an inspiration to other Ugandans, wherever they may be, to call in and be a part of the conversation. Whether I'm the American side of it, I feel more like the Ugandan side of it than anything else. So thank you so much, James, for calling in and being a part of the conversation, and Merry Christmas to you. We're going to go ahead to the professor. I'm going to go ahead and give you the last 3 minutes here, and then I'll close out the show today. So I do want you to know, too, Professor, that I have appreciated you today, and your input has been most valuable. So go ahead and close out the last 3 minutes here.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Let me celebrate this Christmas by declaring that controversy is always very important, because it reflects that there is a freedom. With freedom, everybody being free to express themselves, you will always have controversy. And it is the opposite in a system where there is no freedom. For example, in China or in North Korea, you never hear of controversy. You never hear the other voice. It's always the official party line that you hear about. But on this radio, I think you can hear all the voices, and maybe it is not by accident that the radio is called the Voice of Uganda radio. So for me, controversy is a sign of health in our relations. Because if we all agreed that and everybody said something and everybody agreed that that's the way it is, that's the way it should be, I think there will be something wrong in that particular context. So for me, controversy is a reflection of the existence of freedom, and freedom is essential for us both to communicate and to understand each other and to govern ourselves in the best way possible. So this particular issue, which we've discussed on this Christmas, is for me a very important issue, and it shows that we indeed are prepared and ready to have controversy in order to live a healthier social life. So thank you very much, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Professor. I have to share, I listen to the professor's program during the week because it is so uplifting to hear the law and the way things have changed and the way things at work and the way that he dissects it and puts it into other cultures and other communities. I never have a chance to call into his show because his show is one of those you just enjoy sitting back, just listening to the history of it. So I appreciate him so much for all his input here at Voice Uganda Radio too. I think one of the things we can honestly say here at Voice of Uganda Radio is that the public management bill does not work here at all, because he's right. We have the conversations are always here. We're always able to talk and discuss, whether it's controversial or not. I hope that John felt that he had the rights to express himself, which I think he did beautifully, but also that he was able to listen to and be a part of the other members on the panel and what they had to say and what they had to share as well. Did John come back? John, are you there? No, he's not there. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't him coming through. But this is the thing that we want to know, want the Ugandan people to know, is that this is a platform that we're giving you to speak on behalf of your heart, what is bothering you, what you are concerned with, what you want other people to know or share in with you. I know that we will continue to do this and continue to hopefully have Ugandans call in, because let me explain something to you with my shows, The American Connection that comes on and Freedom at Hand. I invite a lot of people in Washington, D.C. to tune into the programs every week. I invite a lot of people who have different type of organizations within the United States to listen into the program each week. There are a lot of programs that come on Voice Uganda Radio that aren't always in English. So my programs are ones that really direct in and bring the American audience on board. So one of the things I want to see happen, that's why I was so thankful for James, who decided to call in and be a part of the conversation. Even though he shared that he's been listening for a while, he decided to call in and be a part of it today. We need the American audience to know how you feel. We need the American audience to know what's going on. We need the American audience to be able to engage in conversation with you. They may be like James, where they don't feel comfortable calling in yet, but they will. And I will encourage them more and more in 2014 to call in, whether controversial or not. Get on board and be a part of the conversation. But for those of you as Ugandans in the diaspora or inside the walls of Uganda, the American people are here. they're on board and they're listening and they're part of the conversation. And this Voice of Uganda Radio gave us 2 platforms, the one on Sunday morning and the one here on Wednesday, so that Americans can be on board and hear the heart and the conversation of what is bothering the Ugandan people. And I encourage you this next year coming up in 2014 to really call in and be a part of the conversation. Know that you are speaking directly to the American people and all the other audience that I have invited to come on and be a part of the show. I want them to hear from you. It's not always what I have to say and what I have to share, because one of the things I want those in high positions in Uganda to know, and the government as well, is that the American people are on board and they're listening. And if the Ugandans call in and make their voices heard, and let's start having these conversations and putting this information out there, we give the government something to think about, because we're no longer going to stay still in all of this. The international community demands answers. The international community demands to know how we go forward to help the Ugandan people. We've stood on board for many of things that have come up. Nelson Mandela through his struggle, Gandhi through the struggle that they went through. Everyone was on board in the civil rights struggle and movement here in the United States of America. Whether you look at Canada, Australia, Japan, China, we've all had struggles in which we've all had to come together as an international community and say, what do we do here and how do we help the people to move forward? The Ugandan people have been crying out far too long, like everyone has talked about this whole year, and we will continue to talk about a little more into 2014. This man has been in a leadership position for 27 years. And the Ugandan people have nothing to show for the 27 years that he's been in office. The only thing the Ugandan people can show for is how well they're not doing. All the people that have died, all those who have been tortured, what they don't have. The professor said it very clearly on his program that Uganda needs a middle-class society in order to move forward. He understands the way economics and the economy works. Even here in the United States of America, what makes the United States of America great, and even in some of the other countries, is because of the middle-class standing. Because the rich is going to be an elite group. The poor are going to be there as well, but what the poor have is a chance to look at themselves as being a middle-class citizen, because the middle class is what drives and moves the countries forward. No matter where you're at, it drives and moves the country forward, and Uganda definitely needs a middle-class society. This is something that the sitting president has been promising that was going to happen for not 27 years of his reign, but at least the last 20 years. He has boasted that he was going to move Uganda into a middle-class society. Moving Uganda into a middle-class society doesn't mean that you kill off the Ugandans so you have less people so that it makes your numbers look greater on the other side. I mean, we know from the American Connection, when I first started this program, when Voice of Uganda gave me a platform here, that we talked about all the companies that wanted to move into Uganda and set up shop and hire the Ugandan people. They would have paid the Ugandan people equivalent to what was standard for where they lived, but they would have moved the Ugandan citizens, more and more of them, into a middle-class standing. So these are the things that have to happen. I mean, John talked about it earlier, the laws that are old and outdated, and those things need to be revisited, and those things need to be changed. And we need to have a friendly hand extended from Uganda out to the rest of the world through the adoption agencies. All the people that want to adopt children, where better to start than in Uganda with all of the children that have nothing, that parents have died and they continue to live in poverty. We've got to open the doors again to allow Uganda to be embraced by the international community. Most Ugandans inside the walls of Uganda have no idea the love that survives and thrives on the outside of Uganda for that country, for the love of the people to move them forward. And this is what we have to start doing in 2014. I cannot tell you how important satellite radio is going to be in order to reach the mass amount of people, the grassroots people there in Uganda that we need to reach. Not only through satellite radio, but just through the conversations that they can have even here on Voice of Uganda Radio and with Facebook. we've got to start extending ourselves more and more into the walls of Uganda. If the sitting president is not afraid of the people in Uganda and all he wants to do is inflict fear on them, well, it's about time that those of us in the diaspora, those of us in the United States of America, those of us who Canadians, Australia, the UK, whatever our culture is and wherever we come from, we need to start putting fear in the hearts of him, in his heart, to let him know that we're not fearful. We will stand toe to toe to fight for the Ugandan people. We're not talking about starting a grand war or doing something that is illegal in any way. We're talking about standing up for the rights of the Ugandan people. They deserve to have their voices heard, and now is the time. 2014 is going to be a great, great year here at Voice of Uganda Radio. It's going to be a wonderful year at FDU, the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda. One of the things I want to say is that there is a lot of work, hundreds of hours that are going out into legislation and into all of the different avenues that we need to go into to make the voice of the Ugandan people heard. I'm very grateful and very thankful for the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation, what he's doing on behalf of the Ugandans, giving them a platform here in the United States of America through a credited and credible organization that the president, no matter what he does, can't shed any light on it in any way other than a positive way. Thank you so much for joining me today here on the American Connection. This is a Christmas holiday season, and we have more holiday shows coming up. So please stay tuned to Voice of Uganda Radio throughout the day. We will have programs that will run throughout the day. Because we understand and we know that there's a lot of Ugandans that aren't in Uganda today, but that they're home in their own settings, and we wanted to be able to be a part of spreading hope and cheer through the holiday season. So we do have other holiday programs that are going to be coming up following this one, so make sure that you stay tuned for those. A big thank you to all of my callers today, everyone who participated and everyone who was a part of the program. You make the program what it is. I can narrate it and I can be here to be a part of the discussion and conversation with you, but you are the ones that make Voice Uganda Radio what it is. And no matter what was said and what was shared on this program today, it affected everybody in a different way, whether positive or negative. It affected everyone, and that's what we're about, the effectiveness for change. So thank you to all my callers and all of those of you who listen to the program who haven't been a part of calling in yet. I know in 2014 you will be more a part of the conversation. Thank you so much. I am Miss Brenda. You have been listening to the American Connection here on Voice of Uganda Radio. Have a very, very Merry Christmas, and we will talk to you again soon when we come to you with Freedom at Hand, which will be our next program. God bless you. Have a happy holiday. From all of us here at Voice of Uganda Radio, this is Miss Brenda signing out for the American Connection.